Hello and welcome to another episode of The Sovereign Room. I'm your host, Sarah Elsherbeni, Naturopathic Doctor, Feminine Embodiment Guide, and Somatic Facilitator. This is your space to come home to your body, reclaim your voice, and heal the nervous system patterns keeping you in survival mode so you can trust yourself again, feel safe in your own skin, and lead your life, relationships, and business from sovereignty instead of self-abandonment. I am so excited you're here. Come sit with me inside the Sovereign Room. Well, hi, friends, and welcome back to another episode. Today's episode feels very tender and honestly just something that is very alive for me because I'm talking about sexual shame, hookup culture, and the part of us that sometimes confuses being desired with being chosen. This is a conversation that I've wanted to have for quite some time. And here we are. But I want to start by saying that I want to say this really clearly. Okay. There is nothing at all shameful about desire. There is nothing shameful about wanting intimacy. There is absolutely nothing shameful about wanting to be touched, held, wanted, loved, chosen, or connected to another human being. Because at the end of it all, we are human. We have bodies, we have needs, we crave connection, and there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But I think there is a deeper conversation that we get to have here, especially for women who have grown up with cultural conditioning, religious conditioning, the good girl conditioning, sexual shame, and the belief that our bodies are either something to hide, something to protect, something to perform with, or something someone else gets to define for us. Because we're living in a culture now where casual intimacy can be very normalized. Hookup culture is very normal. And talking about sex early can be normal. Moving fast can also be normal. Being expected to be sexually open, confident, chill, and not make it weird can also be normal. And at the same time, I think there's a lot of women carrying a lot of deep shame, fear, confusion, and pressure around our bodies. A little fun fact, the pudendal nerve, the root word for pudendal is actually shame. So a little fun fact there, but there can also be this inner tension, right? Like a part of you wants it, a part of you craves the connection, a part of you wants to feel chosen. And a part of you wants to know that you are desirable. As women, we love that feeling. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also this other part of you that's asking, like, do I actually want this? Does my body feel safe enough? Am I choosing this from a space of desire, or am I choosing this because I want to feel wanted? Will I feel good about this tomorrow? The next day when you wake up, will I feel good about this? Is this my true yes, like my body saying yes, or am I choosing to abandon myself again? And this is what I really want to talk about today, not from a sense of shame, but from this sense of purity culture in a way. Interesting, right? Like, I want to talk about it not necessarily from purity culture, but also part of it is purity culture, right? And we get to have this dynamic duality that is life. But I also don't want to speak about this from fear. I'm speaking about this from a sense of sovereignty, from a sense of from our body, from the woman who has done too much work. We have done too much work to become the women that we are today, to just hand over our access to herself before she feels fully there. Are you fully arrived? Right? Because there can be this pressure of just giving ourselves, allowing the easy access. Don't be the hard one. Why are you so hard? But so for context, right? Because there needs to be context. There gets to be context. I have been getting back into the dating scene after being in one very long-term relationship for 12 years. And I was only intimate with one person my entire life. So stepping back into this dating scene of getting to know people and really ready and wanting to cultivate a sense of, relationship has brought up layers that I do not think I could have fully understood until I was actually in it and experiencing it. Because on one hand, I'm older now and I know myself more, and I've done so much work around my body, my voice, my pleasure, my boundaries, and my own sovereignty. But then there's this other layer where I am stepping into a culture where people have more experience. we're going to talk about it, where sex can be talked about very casually, which, hey, I love it. I want that. This is the whole premise of this room and this space, is to make topics that are taboo not taboo. But in this space, this layer of where sex can be talked about very casually, where moving fast can feel very normal, where people might expect you to be open, playful, confident, sexual, and completely unfazed. And I could feel that old shame come up, right? Specifically, like the performance piece, because we live in a society now where feel like society thrives on performance. What if I am not good? What if I do not know what I'm doing? What if I am too inexperienced? What if I'm awkward? What if my body does not respond the way I want it to? Which I really love that one because we'll get into that a little bit. So I'm putting a little white flag there to talk about it, but there is the deeper layer underneath that, which is cultural layer, religious layer, womanhood layer, the good girl layer, the part of us, the part of me that was taught to be careful, the part of me that was taught that my body meant something, the part of me that also carries shame around the desire, the part of me that wants to be wanted but does not want to betray herself to get there. And it's a lot to hold when you think about it, because it's not as simple as just be sexually empowered. It's not as simple as, well, just wait. There's a nuance to it, right? There's the body truth, there's the conditioning, the desire, the shame, the nervous system safety. There is a very real human need to feel connected, and there is the sacred responsibility of asking what is true for me. And I say this because I think one of the most confusing things about hookup culture is that it can make women feel like having boundaries means that we're not liberated enough. And I want to talk about this because also in the online space and in a lot of the feminine empowerment, women's spirituality, all of that, right? We all talk about like sexual empowerment. And also, I feel like it pressures a lot of women to feel like sexually empowered means that I want to. Now, there's a difference, right, between want and need, but I want to say that I feel like it puts so much pressure on women that if I want to be sexually liberated and sexually empowered, then I need to go and, just sleep with all the men or whatever, right? Like I need to go out and I need to do this and I need to be easy and I need to be accessible and blah, 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 right? But like, what if we talk about this conversation from a very different standpoint, right? Where it's like being sexually empowered and liberated means that you get to do what feels good to your body. Because there is the double standard where men can go around and sleep around and they're like, yeah, bro, amazing, you're the best, right? But then if a woman do that, oh, you're a slut. How dare you do that, right? So there is that, double standard that I want to get rid of. And I'm not saying like, don't be sexually empowered. Do it. More power to you. I want to talk about the dissonance that we see in the hookup culture, the dissonance that we see in the way that people or women in the online space talk about like being sexually liberated and empowered, right? Because then we put this pressure on ourselves and this empower like this pressure to perform and be like Sally Sue over there or, whatever. You get it. Like obviously I'm going on a tangent because I see it a lot. And like we put this pressure that, well, I want to be sexually liberated like her, right? Which is great if you want to, but what does that look like for you? What does it mean for you and your body? Like, how does your body feel about that, right? Like, if you need more time, this is what the society like paints this picture where it's like, if you need more time, you're immature. If you want emotional connection first, you're old fashioned. If you don't want to move too fast, you're complicated. If you feel weird after something, you're dramatic. If you want to be desired and respected, you're asking for too much. And I think that is where so many women really start to override themselves because you don't want to seem uptight. You don't want to be the woman who makes it a big deal. You don't want to admit that something did not feel good, right? You don't want to seem like you're inexperienced. You don't want to seem like you're carrying shame or you don't want to lose the attention. finally a guy looks at you and gives you the time of day and you're like, oh, I'm actually really interested in it and interested in him, that you don't want to lose the attention. Babe, if he's meant to be, he's meant to be. But it's like, who cares at this point? And so you don't want to lose the possibility of potentially being chosen, right? So you laugh it off. You go along with something. You tell yourself it's fine. You tell yourself you wanted it, right? You tell yourself everyone does this. This is normal. You rationalize it in your brain. And maybe it's normal in the culture, which is great, but your body may still know that it was not aligned for you and your soul. And I think that distinction matters, because something can be normalized and still not right for your body. Something can be casual for someone else and still feel very sacred to you. Something can look empowering from the outside and still be self-abandoning on the inside, right? And I just want to say our sexual energy is so powerful as women that it should be tended to, it should be utilized in such a powerful and great way. And we have a portal right between our freaking legs, ladies. Like, we should be cognizant of who accesses that type of energy. Like, please, 100%. Like I said, I'm all for the sexual liberation and the empowerment. Like, I want more women to really tap into their sexual power and like feel good, feel turned on by themselves, by life, by everything. I want more women to be empowered in that. And also, the word I'm looking for, how can we learn this inner connection and intuition to our bodies to really feel like, what does my body actually really want? Like, does this feel good, or am I just doing it because everybody else is doing it? And Sally, the priestess over there, said that, go do it, girl, because that's what Sally Sue said, sexual liberation is, right? So what I have been choosing differently is bringing more awareness into what I actually feel, because the nuance is maybe your body does want it. Maybe your body does want it and you're in it, you're great. And you can also still feel shame about that, right? Because you're feeling shame about the desire. So what I've been choosing differently is bringing more awareness to what I actually feel. Not what I think I should feel, not what a more experienced woman would feel, or what hookup culture says is normal, right? What an old version of me would have done just to feel chosen. What do I actually feel in my body in the present moment? Because it could be very easy for you to, be given the opportunity and take it. Like, we are human. We crave connection. We have needs. We want to feel wanted. We want to feel desired, right? We want to feel like somebody sees us and wants to come closer. And there's nothing shameful about that. But I also know myself. I know that if I override my body for short-term pleasure, I may pay for it later in a shame spiral. I may wake up the next day and realize I did something that I did not actually want to do. I may start to feel disconnected from myself again. I may feel angry, feel violated, feel like I betrayed part of me that has worked so hard to feel safe again. And I don't want to keep doing that. So for me, the question has become, is this a full body yes? Is this a fuck yes in my body? Or am I trying to convince myself because I want to feel chosen? Because if something rubbed me the wrong way, if my body contracted, if a boundary was crossed, if it was only date one and I already feel like I have to rationalize someone's behavior, that's information. And a past version of me might have ignored that. She might have thrown herself at the opportunity. She might have thought, well, at least he wants me. She might have thought being wanted meant she had to say yes. But I'm not that version of myself anymore. This is one of the deeper pieces, because when you have a wound around not being chosen, abandonment, desire can feel very powerful. Very, very powerful. They can feel like a drug, right? Once you get a taste of that drug and it's like, that's great. I want more of it. So it can feel very powerful. Someone choosing you, pursuing you, complimenting you, wanting you, asking for access to you. It can feel like medicine at first, especially if you've spent years feeling unseen, especially if you've been in a relationship where you've lost yourself, especially if you have questioned whether you are still desirable, especially if you've been rebuilding your body, your confidence, your sensuality, and your relationship with yourself. Being desired can feel good. And I want to let that be true, because it does feel good. Feels good to be true, to be wanted, to be seen, to feel the chemistry. It feels good to remember that your body is alive. But being desired is not the same thing as being respected. Being wanted is not the same thing as being honored. And if the only way I get to feel chosen is by abandoning the pace my body needs, then I'm not actually choosing myself, am I? This is the part that I keep coming back to. I have worked so hard to reclaim my sovereignty. I've worked so hard to get to a place where I can make my own choices, where nobody else gets to decide what happens with my body, where I do not hand over access because someone paid attention to me, where I do not confuse chemistry with safety, where I do not override my body for the sake of short-term pleasure. And I think that is what sexual sovereignty really is. It's not being closed off. It's not being afraid of sex. It's not shaming yourself for desire. It's being able to say, I want intimacy and I still get to choose the conditions that feel safe for my body. So, as a pelvic floor therapist and as someone who has studied the pelvic floor for a while and has been I love it. It blows my mind. Knowing what I know about the body and the pelvic floor, I cannot separate sexual intimacy from safety. I cannot separate receiving from the nervous system. I cannot separate arousal from trust. I cannot separate the pelvis from the voice, the throat, the womb, the heart, the history, the grief, and the body's lived experiences. The pelvic floor knows, because if she feels safe, if your body feels safe and your pelvic floor feels safe to be open to receive, she will. But if she does not, right, now you're forcing and then you contract. And now this is why things can be challenging in intimacy, right? Your body knows something maybe you don't, or maybe you're forcing yourself. And so your body's going to clench and she's not going to be ready and she does not want to receive. Because the body knows, the pelvic floor knows. So the body can brace, it can guard, it can go numb, it can perform, and it can dissociate. And it can go through the motions while another part of you is not fully there. And that matters too, because if you've done so much work coming back into your body, putting yourself in a situation where your body is not actually ready to receive, it can feel like you're taking 5 steps back. Not because you did something wrong, not because your body's ruined, not because shame needs to become the story, but because your body deserves to be included in that decision. Your body's not just the vehicle that carries out what your loneliness decided. Your body is not just the place where someone else's desires get to land. Your body is part of the conversation. And if she's not ready, that matters too. If she's bracing, that matters. If she's quiet, that matters. If she's saying no, that matters. If she needs more time, that also matters. And we get to respect that. Other people get to respect that. And we get to hold those boundaries and be confident in those boundaries. So here's the practical part. These are questions that I would ask yourself if you are in the moment where desire, pressure, attention, alcohol, chemistry, or the need to feel chosen is clouding your body's truth. In any situation that you may be, the first question I would ask is this a full body yes, or am I trying to make it one? As you continue to build and grow this connection with your body, and it's kind of similar to muscle testing, if you know about muscle testing, where we test your body's response to different things. It could be modalities, it could be homeopathy, it could be medicines, it could be anything. And basically what you're doing is you're testing your body's response to a yes and a no. And getting that biofeedback is okay, this is what a yes feels like in the body. This is what a no feels like. Very similar to yourself. Building that strength within your body and that connection, a full body yes will feel very different than trying to convince yourself of a yes. And I know that it can be hard to feel when you're activated, attracted, nervous, or wanting to be wanted. But pause, feel your body. Is there expansion? Is there ease? Maybe there's curiosity. Is there a genuine desire? Or is there tightness, bracing, maybe a pit in your stomach, or a part of you that is already preparing to regret it? You don't need to know every answer, but you do need to stop ignoring the first cue. And that can look like excusing yourself and giving yourself some time. We don't need to make decisions right in the moment. Question 2 is this desire coming from connection or a craving? This question has helped me a lot because the question becomes, do I genuinely feel connected to this person? Do I actually feel seen and safe and respected? Do I feel like my pace is like mattered or respected? Or am I craving the feeling of being wanted? Am I craving the proof that I am desirable? Am I craving the relief of not feeling alone? Am I craving the hit of attention? Because craving is human, it's normal. It doesn't make you a bad person, right? But craving should not be the only person driving the car when your body is the one who has to live with the choice. Question 3 is, would I still want this if they might not choose me after? This one can be confronting because you never know, especially when we live in such a hookup culture. Could be one of those one night stands. Then what's going to happen? How are you going to feel then? We question that, and it can be confronting. What if they don't choose me after? What if I just see them and that's it? Because sometimes we say yes because we think it will create that closeness and we think it will make them stay. We think it will make us more desirable. We think it will make the connection feel more real. But if the intimacy did not lead to more commitment, more care, more consistency, more respect, would you still choose it? Would you still feel good in your body? Would you still feel like you honored yourself? That question alone can bring so much clarity to us. Question 4 is, has this person honored my boundaries so far? Before someone gets more access to your body, ask, what have they done with the access they've already had? Did they listen when you said no? Did they slow down when you said you needed more time? Did they respect your pace? Did they make you feel guilty? Did they turn your boundary into a challenge? Did they keep pushing after you already gave them information? Because someone who does not honor your small boundaries may not be safe with your bigger ones. And then number 5 is, what does my body feel after I leave their presence? Sometimes in the moment, you might not have the full clarity, right? You might be nervous, you might be drinking, you may be in the chemistry, you may be laughing something off. You may not know what you feel until later. So give yourself time, a day, a few days. Talk it out with a trusted friend, therapist, coach, or someone who can hold you without projecting their own story onto you. And then ask yourself, how do I feel when I'm no longer in their energy, right? Do I feel expanded, calm, excited in a grounded way? Or do I feel confused, angry? Do I feel like a boundary was crossed? Do I feel like I could not think clearly? Do I feel like I laughed because I did not know what else to do? Sometimes your body will tell the truth after the moment has passed, and listen to that too. If you are navigating this, I would not ask you to shame yourself into better choices because that does not work. Shame usually makes us disconnect from our bodies more. I'd ask you to practice slowing down enough to feel yourself. So, for example, if you are on a date and something happens that makes you feel unsure, excuse yourself. Go to the bathroom, put your feet on the floor, place one hand on your lower belly or your womb space or both or anywhere, and take a few breaths and ask yourself, is this a yes in my body? What's coming up? Do I feel safe? Do I want this? Or do I want to be wanted? What would I choose if I knew I did not have to earn to be chosen? Give yourself even 60 seconds of truth because that pause can change everything for you. The other practice you can do is the next day, right? The next day when your mind is much more clearer, check in again, especially if there, was a lot of if there was a lot of variables happening, especially if there was alcohol, pressure, intense chemistry, or a situation where you did not feel fully present. Ask, what am I feeling now? Do I feel good about what happened? Do I feel proud that I honored myself? Do I feel angry? Do I feel violated? Do I feel like I need to name something? Did I laugh something off that my body did not think was funny? This is not about punishing yourself. This is just about gathering information and building that connection with your body. A third practice that I really like is a woman pelvic bowl listening, connecting to your womb. As women, that is like our quantum center. She holds so much for us, and she has so much wisdom, and she's your compass. She connects with you. And so placing one hand on your heart and one hand on the lower part of your belly where your womb is, right? And building that connection by breathing into your pelvis and feeling the rise and fall. Ask your body, what did I need in that moment? Or what are you asking me now to know now? What pace feels safe for you? What would it look like to honor you here? And then listen. You might get words, you might get sensations, you might get tears, you might get anger. You might not get nothing at first. And that is okay because we are building this connection, right? And so with like the pelvic womb connection practice, it's usually something that you can do every day for like 5 minutes. You get up in the morning, you stand at your altar, or maybe you stand outside and you just connect your breath with your womb and your body and just see if she has any messages to you. And you're doing that every day for like 5 minutes and just like connecting with your body before going into the day. And as you continue to build that connection, the more you do that, the more you start gauging and understanding and being able to listen more. The point is that you're practicing including your body again in these, conversations. Another practice is just saying the clean sentence. Sometimes we feel the need to over explain because we are afraid of our boundary and will not be respected unless we justify it. You could simply just say, I'm attracted to you and I need more time. Or I enjoyed spending time with you and I'm not moving that fast. That comment actually did not feel good to me. I'm not comfortable with that. I want intimacy to feel connected, not pressured. I need my pace to be respected. You do not need to make yourself smaller to be kind to people, and you can be honest and still loving. Let desire and discernment can coexist together. Let yourself be a woman who wants. Let yourself be a woman who feels desire. Let yourself be a woman who is sensual, alive, curious, turned on by life, and open to intimacy. And let yourself be a woman with standards, a woman with a body that gets a vote, a woman who does not confuse her openness with access, a woman who can say yes from her whole body and a no from her whole body too, because that's sovereignty. So if you're listening to this and you're in a season of dating, celibacy, returning to your body, leaving a long relationship, healing from sexual shame, or just trying to understand your relationship with desire, I want you to know that you do not have to rush. You do not have to prove you are healed by being sexually available. You do not have to prove you are empowered by overriding your own pace. You do not have to prove that you are desirable by giving access to someone who has not even earned safety with you. You are allowed to take your time. You're allowed to want the connection, to feel the desire. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to change your mind, and you're allowed to pause. You're allowed to ask for more emotional safety before more physical access. And you're allowed to let your body be a part of the decision. And if the answer is yes, let it be a yes that feels clean in your body. And if the answer is no, let it be a no that you do not have to apologize for or justify. I think so many of us are learning how to hold duality, where I can be sensual and sovereign. I can desire intimacy and still need safety. I can want to feel chosen and still choose myself first. I can be open and still have boundaries. I can have a past, a culture, a religion, a body, a story, and still get to decide what actually feels true for me now. And that right there is the real work. No more overriding your body for the sake of being wanted. No more confusing attention with reverence. No more shaming yourself for the desire, right? No more handing over access to the body you have worked so hard to come home to. Your body gets to be included. Your womb gets to be included. Your nervous system gets to be included. And your pleasure gets to be included. So does your truth. And your pace gets to matter too. So thank you for joining me for this conversation. I hope this episode sparked something within yourself and gave you permission to truly stand in your boundaries and know what's okay for you and that you don't have to feel peer pressured by everybody else. You are the author of your own story and you get to create, delete, edit, fire, hire as you please. So until next time, I'll see you guys next week for another episode. Love you guys. Bye. Thank you for tuning into another episode of The Sovereign Room. If this conversation gave you language, permission, or even one big deep exhale, share it with a woman in your life who is also learning how to come home to herself. And if you haven't already, follow the podcast, leave a rating, and subscribe so more women can find their way into this room. New episodes drop every Wednesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Until next time, keep coming home to your body, your voice, and yourself.